The 2025 season wasn't supposed to end with Stephanie White holding back tears in a silent Las Vegas locker room. It wasn't supposed to be about heartbreak, or officiating controversies, or hospital visits. Yet sometimes, greatness hides behind pain. Sometimes, the most crushing defeats reveal the truest form of victory. And for the Indiana Fever, that night in Vegas became the defining moment that changed everything. The year began with hope. Indiana entered 2025 with one goal: redemption. After a breakout 2024 season led by Caitlin Clark's brilliance, the Fever looked poised to climb even higher. But basketball, like life, rarely follows a perfect script. By mid-January, the team that was supposed to chase a title looked like it might not even survive the season. Clark's lingering ankle issues kept her sidelined, a blow that set off a chain reaction. Cydney Colson tore her ACL in practice. Aaliyah Boston was struggling through persistent knee inflammation. Sophie Cunningham played through an MCL tear that should have ended her season months earlier. Demiriss Dantas missed crucial games due to concussion protocol. What was once a contender now looked like a skeleton crew. Yet instead of collapsing, something extraordinary began to happen. Stephanie White threw out the playbook. She stopped relying on systems and started trusting her players' instincts. The Fever began to play with a kind of reckless passion, fueled by desperation and defiance. Every possession became a fight for survival. They stunned the Minnesota Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup with only 7 active players. They pushed the Phoenix Mercury to 3 straight over. Analysts dismissed it as luck, but fans could feel that something real was stirring in Indiana. Then came the playoffs. By every logical measure, they shouldn't have been there. Injuries, exhaustion, and bad luck had stacked the deck. Their opponent, the powerhouse Las Vegas Aces, a 2-time champion team with MVP Aaliyah Wilson in the league's best supporting cast. Vegas was supposed to sweep. The series wasn't supposed to be close, but from the opening tip of Game 5, it became clear that this wasn't going to be just another loss. It was going to be a fight. The Fever entered the game already down several key players. Midway through the second quarter, things went from bad to nightmarish. Kelsey Mitchell, the team's top scorer and emotional leader, collapsed on the court. Severe dehydration forced the medical staff to rush her to the hospital. Indiana was left without its heartbeat. Still, they refused to fold. But the universe and the referees seemed determined to test them further. Aaliyah Boston, the team's anchor in the paint, was called for her 3rd foul on what replays showed was a textbook clean block. Moments later, she picked up a 4th foul on a play where she didn't even make contact. By the time she fouled out with 27 seconds left on yet another phantom call, even the Vegas crowd began to boo. It was surreal. Commentators couldn't believe what they were seeing. Fans online erupted in outrage. Hashtags about rigged officiating began trending within minutes. And yet, despite it all, Indiana didn't quit. Odyssey, Sims playing like a woman possessed, dropped 27 points, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot. Lexi Hull, a name few casual fans even knew, made game-saving defensive stops and nailed key jumpers. Grace Berger took over playmaking duties after Mitchell's exit, threading passes through impossible windows. With every bucket, the Fever clawed closer. They forced overtime. It was chaos, beautiful, heartbreaking chaos. With Boston fouled out and Mitchell in the hospital, the remaining Fever players dug deeper than anyone thought possible. Katie Lou Samuelson hit a 3 to tie the game. Tammy Bentley battled for offensive rebounds that gave them second chances. The crowd could feel the shift. The underdogs weren't supposed to be here, but they refused to disappear quietly. When the final buzzer sounded, Vegas had won by 4 points. But the moment didn't feel like defeat. The Aces didn't celebrate wildly. Instead, they crossed the court to shake hands, to show respect. Aaliyah Wilson was seen telling Stephanie White, "Y'all deserve to win that." Jackie Young hugged every Indiana player in sight. And the Vegas crowd, once roaring for the home team, rose to its feet in applause. They weren't clapping for champions, they were clapping for warriors. Inside the Fever locker room, silence hung heavy until Stephanie White finally spoke. Her words would become legend. She didn't talk about the referees. She didn't complain about the injuries or the unfair calls. She talked about grace, about pride, about refusing to break when everything seems impossible. "You showed the world what heart looks like," she told them. A team assistant filmed the speech and posted it online. Within 24 hours, it had over 10 million views. Players across the league shared it, calling it the real MVP moment of the season. And then came the twist no one saw coming. Days after the elimination, the league office called White directly. The commissioner's office was launching an investigation into the officiating of Game 5. The findings were explosive. The WNBA officially admitted that 17 calls had been missed or made incorrectly, 15 of them against Indiana. 2 referees were suspended indefinitely. It was the first time in league history that officials were disciplined for altering the outcome of a playoff game. The news sent shockwaves through basketball. For the Fever, it wasn't vindication of bitterness, it was proof of their strength. Instead of wallowing in injustice, the Fever turned it into fuel. Caitlin Clark, still recovering from her ankle injury, said in an interview, "This team showed me what real basketball is, what it means to fight when the world is watching you fall." Sophie Cunningham posted that she'd never been prouder to wear a Fever jersey. And around the league, something began to shift. Free agents who once wouldn't consider Indiana were suddenly calling their agents, asking about joining Stephanie White's squad. The Fever, once seen as a rebuilding team, had become a destination. Even more remarkable, their own players stayed loyal. Kelsey Mitchell signed an extension despite having leverage to leave. Boston announced she wanted to retire a Fever. The bond forged in that playoff run was unbreakable. The loss that should have destroyed them instead made them immortal. And the ripple effects didn't stop there. The controversy sparked a broader reckoning within the WNBA. Coaches and former players demanded officiating reforms. The league announced plans for new oversight systems, transparency reports, and rule reviews. What happened to Indiana had become the catalyst for long overdue change. But the true victory wasn't policy, it was pride. The Fever redefined what it meant to compete. They proved that greatness isn't always measured by trophies or banners, but by the way you stand tall when everything around you collapses. Their resilience turned pain into purpose, defeat into identity. Months later, even A'ja Wilson herself admitted that Indiana was the toughest opponent she'd ever faced, not because of talent, but because of heart. They don't break, she said, they just keep coming. That's what the 2025 Indiana Fever will be remembered for, not the scoreboard, but the spirit. The night they fell in Vegas wasn't an ending. It was the birth of something bigger, a culture, a legacy, a standard of fight that will echo through women's basketball for years to come. So, what do you think? Did the Fever get robbed, or was this loss the foundation of their future greatness? Do you believe this team can rise from heartbreak to hoist the trophy next season? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you believe in redemption stories. And don't forget to subscribe, because if there's one thing certain, it's that the Fever's story isn't over. In fact, it might just be getting started.